I've been a part of some really creative engagement stories over the years. This one would have likely taken the cake. It could have been entitled, "He Threw Away His Reputation as a Good Man by Marrying a Fallen Woman." He is Joseph. To sense the power of what Joseph chose, let's go back to the beginning. Mary was pregnant. By getting pregnant as an unmarried woman, Mary had shed her virtue and become an outcast. According to the law, she could be stoned to death for this. Joseph was prepared to disavow her. The rules were drummed into him, his wounded pride. What would you do? Run and hide? Or turn and risk? Joseph turned and risked. And a whole different life began for him and for us. A virgin betrothed to a man named Joseph. That's all this gospel says. Joseph chose engagement. Joseph chose an engagement like every one of those young couples tonight who chose engagement. The night they took that ring and put it on that finger of that one particular human being. They chose engagement too, to one particular person, but they symbolize for all of us tonight an engagement that all of us are called to that is at the very heart of Christmas. Maybe that explains why so many propose tonight, get engaged tonight of all nights of the year. All of us without exception are called to get engaged with life itself, with all of life and for life. The obvious truth, confirmed in physics and in theology, is that we are all connected. Everything, everyone is connected. Connection is a given. But while connection is a given, engagement is a choice. The choice is whether or not to engage, to make connections vital, intimate, sustaining, and real. Engagement with life will only happen if we are willing to get hurt and rejected, embarrassed and weary and fail, like Joseph. Because engagement, whether it's with one particular person, it only happens in a less than perfect world. Engagement will only happen if we are willing to honestly share our truth with others and invite others to share their truth with us. Engagement will only happen if we are willing to say what we mean and mean what we say. It will only happen if we are willing to press beyond the shallow niceness and agreement and pretense towards more honest and deep relationship. Practically, that can look like talking to others instead of talking about others. It can look like turning off the TV and the computer and calling a friend we haven't seen for a long time to get together. It can look like reading the local news and even the international news. It can look like deciding to do our part to clean up a very particular relationship right now in our lives that needs to be cleaned up. Engagement takes courage because there's always a risk in becoming engaged. Where might it lead? And it takes a certain intestinal fortitude to stay engaged with a person or an institution, even an institution like our church or our own government right now, when we get most discouraged. Engagement is about moving from the outskirts to the center, from the walls of the room onto the dance floor, from the shallow end of the pool into the deep. That is hard to do, my friends, and it's hard to keep on doing, but it is infinitely worth it. Engagement is at the heart of Christmas. The mystery of the Incarnation is God's choice to engage with us and with this world irrevocably. The Word became flesh and lived among us, the Scripture tells us. God refused to remain above the fray, but now in it, in all the messy, bony, gutsy, sweaty, fleshy, dusty, rocky, challenging, loving beauty and wonder of life. Is it any wonder that the story of Jesus begins with an engagement that was high risk, courageous, and the beginning of everything? He threw away his reputation as a good man to marry a fallen woman. Engagement is what Jesus was about. He learned it from his old man. Still is what Jesus is about. Jesus demonstrates and calls for engagement in life all the way and to the end. And he calls us, my friends, us, you and I, to join him in the fray. From the students of this university, I have learned about engagement. From the couples who dare marriage still, I learn about engagement. From the students who step from the sidelines of the CSC into the free-for-all of community, I learn it. From the shy students who discover over the years their passions and their voice and stand up for their faith and their hope for the world, I learn it. From the students who step into leadership and risk looking like a fool at that university and risk having no more time to do anything else that they have to already do, I learn it. And from the 12 who will leave tomorrow to serve in the slums of Kenya for the next 3 weeks, I learn it. There were too many times in my 58 years when I did not risk engagement when I could have. I deeply regret that. And I see it all around me happening too. In roommates that fall away from each other rather than deal. In husbands and wives who somewhere along the way stopped engaging with each other in vulnerable conversation. And so the miracle of stranger becoming friend dissolves into friends becoming strangers. Whether as roommates or as partners, it is always so sad. from my own mistakes and others, it is clear to me that we can be connected but not engaged. What would happen in your family if you really engaged each other, really spoke honestly, listened carefully, really challenged as well as affirmed each other? What would happen in this old world if we dared to engage it more compassionately and do whatever we humanly can to get involved in making this old world an even better world? You know, for many of us my age and older, we made so much fun of the hippies and the druggies of our day for dropping out of society. But really, are you and I any more engaged at this point in our lives? Or have we just invented more creative and subtle ways to not get involved, to not volunteer, to not care? On this Christmas night, we discover a God who does not remain aloof and abstract and removed. And we discover that life is not about staying in the shallow end of the pool or on the fringes of the battle for justice and against oppression and just stand there and watch others fight it. But rather, it's about being at the very center of the fire where our sisters and brothers really live. On this Christmas night, I invite you in the name of the whole church to heed the longing in you for love, for meaning, for healthy and life-giving relationships. Listen to the longing in you for a world of justice and of peace and of beauty. On this Christmas night, can we really be here honestly and not choose to get engaged in life?